Hey, thanks for clicking the link. Here, a short overview of the results that you created, helping you to remember what we actually did. So remember, in the beginning, we asked the question to identify a point in the future that we would like to experience, an outcome. So an outcome in the future, and a future point that we would like to experience, see, nothing abstract, but something that can be tangible. So that's the first point. You created those statements. We read those statements through, and for the sake of the exercise, I was so free to summarize it in one statement and ask you to fill it in, etc., so that we have a statement that kind of gives us a direction to work with, and that's good enough for this kind of exercise, and actually for this kind of mapping, actually. Then we took this sentence, and I said, okay, if it's true that we want, or you guys want to move into that future and be able to experience and see and smell and feel this outcome, this future, well, what do you need in order to be able to contribute to achieving that? Then I ask you to write down three things, three tangible things. Well, chocolate is tangible, love, appreciation is intangible, but those I can measure. And that's really important. And then you start to scribble something on a sheet of paper. You will not have finished this on the sheet of paper, but that's perfectly fine. What was important for me is that you get a sense of, well, actually it's literally about writing something down and drawing an arrow. And that's easy as that. And then asking specific question, what comes before, what could come after that? What does it cause? By what is it caused? And what is it causing? This is the question. And the thing before or after have to be either, so the thing after, if you have something, and the thing after has to be an inevitable consequence of that. If I punch you, you will not like me. That's inevitable. Or something before is, if I push this person, well, then this person falls over. So the push, in order to fall over, you need to be pushed. No? Anyway, so just as a reminder here. And I started with a variable, could have started with any other variable here, to show you your narratives that you came up with, what is needed in order to achieve this statement that Jenny so beautifully put also in this, in the visualization of creating this beautiful network. And I started with members feel seen and invited to act. This is where we started. Oh yeah, and here it's the left side, what you see here. Basically, to answer your question, which in the case of the third group, so the first two groups had different statements in the end, but in the case of the last group, it was local and global citizens networked actively collaborating to create real change in communities and having fun doing it. Yes, and and the second one actually had effective, creative, productive network of passionate people that learn and develop an international solidarity of people, community of connected, like-minded change makers. So kind of it goes into a similar direction. Perfect. And in order to achieve that sentence, well, what we identified already in our exercise, what's interesting is about those 7 things here. At least those 7 things. It's about, we need to show performance. If not, we have to perform. We have to be able to create safe spaces. We have to be able to innovate. We have to be able to create energy balance for people, kind of burnout, work-life balance. It's volunteer work that we do here. It's about creating collective impact. It's about strategic clarity, having clarity on strategy collectively, and it's about evolutionary change. So those are big words. What does it even mean? Let's see what you said. So you said, well, one of the things that we need for that is members that feel seen and invited to act. And here's the first loop that we identified is, well, because the more we have members that feel seen and invited to act, the more we come together in conversation, the more citizens doing shared actions at scale, and the more we have grant restrictions. And my understanding is here, well, the more we're actually showing that as a global network, we can really make a difference. We can act together as a global network and create something in a unified voice towards a shared goal. This makes it really interesting for large-scale funding. My experience of working with philanthropics, especially the big ones like Gates, Hewlett-Packard, etc., they're looking, those big grants that they're giving, interesting grants that they're giving is for those large-scale networks that are actually not only a network on name and paper, but are actually being able to do that. And so the grant restrictions get much looser and more, let's say, interesting. Yeah, the more we have interesting or positive grant restrictions that are not that strong, so the stronger the grant restrictions are, and the less you're able to do this kind of shared action at scale, well, the less the quality of the outcomes is. Because if you have strong grant restrictions, you don't have free money, you don't have ways to move. The philanthropic organization does not treat you as a partner. But if you really treat it as a partner because you really get rubber on the road with what you're doing, and you can prove that with matrices and with numbers also on those different dimensions globally, when you become a force also for them. Yeah. And well, then you achieve your goals, because the quality of outcomes is you start achieving your goals, which makes members feel seen and invited to act. It's like, wow, with my little contributions that I'm making here, I'm actually having global impact. Dang, that's amazing. Okay, so what else? So once this thing is moving here, well, we have citizens doing shared action at scale. Well, it can happen that we're getting lost in talking and not doing, because we're so much busy with coordinating and talking to each other and coordinating here and meeting there and online and raw. So we get lost in talking and not doing. It's a danger. It's a real danger that we identified. And the more we get lost in talking, not doing, well, the more we get frustrated. The more we get frustrated, the more we judge. We get short-minded. Anyways, we get short-minded and we start judging. And the more we start judging, the less we dare to share our opinions, which is not a safe space. And the less I start sharing the less I share that, the less we have deepness of interaction, well, the less members feel actually seen and invited to act. So this loop here, if we don't take care of this one here, that we do something at scale, but in any interaction that we have, in any conversation that we have, and in any project that we have, that we always take care that we're not only talking, but that talking is always connected to a doing. Because if not, we will kill this whole thing. Because this here will be like if the big one would be one flywheel, this one here is like the brake on the flywheel. It just climbs to it and makes it slower. Yeah, just this thing here. Wonderful. The next one is, well, if coming together in conversation happens, well, we increase the amount of committed members, we increase the amount of focused work sessions, the probability, and again, we're simplifying here. Yes, there's much more to that. I think I mentioned it last again, but also the more we get lost in talking, not doing, well, the less we have actually focused work sessions. This one also influences this, which is actually a positive loop. It's an exponential growth loop, because it's only positive, no? Same directional. It's kind of this exponential growth thing. But because of this thing here, this actually switches, and it turns out, well, we have less focused work sessions, we have less appreciation for my contributions, and then here we come into the same here. So again, this is really dangerous thing, and probably out of your own experience, you know that. I mean, how often have we sit in meetings where you think, why am I actually sitting here? Well, and sometimes if I ask those questions, organizations say, well, someone put it into my agenda. Like, wow, I think that's really waste of time and love and passion and life energy. And money also. And the more we get coming together, you said, in conversation, well, it can happen that we're also getting tired. And the more we're getting tired, because we're coming too often into those conversations, it's just tiring. It's kind of similar like those here. The more we get tired, well, the less we have deepness of interaction, because I'm like, oh, I have another meeting, or I can't. And then less deepness of interaction, less. So those three things here, it's really important that you start looking at them, at least from what I heard from the conversation. I mean, those are your words. Mostly kind of for the sake of the exercise, I helped you facilitate it a bit. And layer 5 here is, well, the more we have, let's say, let's assume we have a lot of deepness of interaction. Well, the more we actually understand perspectives, the more we have clarity of definitions, the more we have clarity of definitions, the more we actually create shared goals and create shared directions, and then the higher the quality of outcomes, which is then, I called it here, the strategic clarity component. Oh, by the way, yeah, here, all the others, I hope this was self-explanatory, that you see how those build up, what's needed in order to create performance, to create a safe space from the short conversations that we had. And what's now powerful, this whole model here is actually created by every single one who participated in the conference, even though you have never talked to each other. Well, at least not about that. Or, yeah, I hope you get the point, because you were in different groups. And still, it completely merges together. And the more, now here the members feel seen and acted, the less we actually act on our own. And the less we act on our own, the more we actually have shared goals. Remember, red arrow is one goes up, other goes down, or vice versa. So the more we have action on my own, the less I have shared goals. I think it's pretty straightforward. And last but not least, we identified here in this model with you two influencing things that are not connected to loop, but it's just might be other influencing factors that we didn't map here. It's really important in order to make this higher, that this goes really through the roof. We have to have emotional competence, for example, active listening, meeting as intellectual equals, etc., so that we really are being able to be with the others in a high quality way, in a really professional way. Which emotional competence and intelligence is just key to that. And I think even in yours, also the spiritual component really important, because it's kind of transcendent belief in something different, which makes me able to connect to someone on the other side of the world. And the stronger this transcendent connection is, the easier it is to build this kind of global massive network and action in a unified voice and think globally in harmony. Sorry for my bad English here. So accessible and easy to use communication platforms. Which is something really technical. Technical question, how to do that. And I think, in my understanding, communication platform is not necessarily kind of what's the next Facebook thing or online platform, but platform can also be literally the marketplace where we meet in order to do something in person together. Anything that helps us to communicate, not necessarily only digital. Anyways, I hope this was interesting for you in order to see how can we actually together in a really short amount of time, as a global network, by using this little system model tool of value mapping, create an understanding of a question. And now you could ask a question, well, okay, now that's a spaghetti ball. How do we move forward? Well, now with this model here, you could ask, which is not complete. There's more dimensions to that. Yeah, absolutely. But you already have quite a lot in it, because you have technology in here. You have, there's this inner world, inner conditions in here. You have a strategy component here, this management component. You have here shared action up here, grant givers you have here. So you can ask, so what are the variables that, what Sebastian also asked you, where you would kind of put your name on? You can also ask, what are the variables that we just can't influence? Well, it's hard to influence grant restrictions, where you can do the kind of create conditions that you're a more interesting partner, but basically you can't write those conditions. No? But there's something else. So let's say if you can't change this, well, but you can change most of the things that come before, which influence that. So if you do here a really good job, the probability that this develops into a positive direction is much higher. So asking yourself, from all the things here, and there could be a whole workshop on that, this whole thing here, what are the leverage points? Or what are those intervention points or acupuncture points? That if we just put our needle there or move the thing, this whole thing starts to move. Yeah. Another question that you could ask here, and then this is a systemic management plan, because you can also put numbers, as I mentioned to some of you. You could put numbers here. How much would that cost to do that? Well, you could then specify this a bit more. Yeah. And then you can ask questions, well, if it's true that this is kind of the system or part of the system that helps us to move forward, well, we can't monitor everything. But what is the kind of the canary in the coal mine here? What is one or two or three variables that if we look at them, we kind of have a good picture that this whole thing is working well? Yes. There are other questions that you can ask, but I think those are the most relevant that I would ask you or recommend you to look at. Again, first, identify, so what are the variables that you say, well, this is the area of the guys working on, or let's see, it's more kind of this one here, quality of outcomes, shared goals, understanding perspective, clarity of intentions. So this is one of the, let's say, those are the managers in the organization. And here, deepness of collaboration, members feel seen, coming together in conversation. Those three things here, well, this is actually the guys, the persons who are planning events. Yeah. And whenever you plan events, people are like, well, those, we have to ensure that our event pays into those three things. If not, we know what we could lose. We could lose everything that. Yeah. So you can literally print this out and draw a circle around that, or kind of as a marker with a, with a slide highlighters. And then with this, you kind of structure it a bit, saying, well, this is grant, or this is government. And then you ask, well, if government is an essential player in our system here, and because we need them, because they have their fingers in this one here, we should probably should engage with them. No? And this helps you to engage strategically. That's the first thing. The second thing is ask yourself the question, what is this 2 or 3 variables in our system? That's a pretty small system here, so you can start perhaps only ask one. What is this one variable that helps us see that this whole thing is working well? The canary in the coal mine. Yeah, I mean, this might be an interesting one, me daring to share my opinion. And this can be a participatory process. You can doodle on that, or with Mentimeter, etc., all those great tools that you are using. A third one would be, okay, now that we know kind of the stakeholders or kind of the areas, yeah, we kind of have a sense of our systemic measurement metrics. Yeah, we can now ask, okay, we can't do everything at once. It's impossible, and you shouldn't. Yeah. But what are the 2 to 3 variables that help us if we would work on those variables? For example, this one here lost in talking, not doing, or understand perspectives. So if we focus on those, the probability is relatively high that everything else will, in a ripple effect, move. Because you can say, well, if we do this, and it goes like that, and then you can go through the pathway. But it's really dangerous. Always monitor it well. Yes, because this is just a model, and it's just an assumption, and it's not the reality. I think that's it for now. I wish you all the success, all the best, and you know where to find global change management students. That's the kind of stuff that we do, and all the new generations in Eberswalde are super excited to work with people like you. At least it's my assumption, and that's how I got to know all those really cool people that Eberswalde at the GCM and beyond the GCM study program, not only the GCM, but that's kind of my context where I also come from. Okay, thank you so much, and see you. Bye.